Well, good morning. It is again Thursday morning, and it's great just being with you this week, chatting with you through worship. Trust already you have received some insight, and we're going to continue with our topic of worship. And what I want to share with you this morning on this Thursday morning is hold on to your faith. Remember, we spoke about it yesterday that Abraham's faith was tested by God. God tested him. That was he willing to put all his faith and trust in God, who called him, who told him and gave him a great promise that he'll be a great nation. Can you imagine going through his mind when he had to put his son down upon that altar and God said, now sacrifice your son, and thinking, my goodness, what's going to happen to my promise? I believe this, that Abraham believed that God would resurrect his son. I really do believe that. That's the only thing that I could understand why he was willing to go that far, because he put his entire faith and trust in God. And we know again, it's a type of that, of what Jesus did, came to the cross, died on the cross, buried in a tomb, resurrected on the third day. Yeah, we're heading into Easter. We can talk a little bit more about that as we get into Easter, of really what Jesus did for you and I. Man, what a gospel, what a message, what a God we serve. I cannot emphasize just how much our God has done for us through his son, Christ Jesus. And so as a result of Abraham holding on to his faith in God, God rewards him. Notice this. This is brilliant. This is beautiful. That as he takes his son, places him upon that pile of wood, takes the knife, ready to plunge it into his heart. An angel stops him and says, "Don't harm the boy." He releases him. God says, "Well done, good and faithful servant." Man, come on, isn't those the words you want to wear? Well done, good and faithful servant. Then God rewards him as he looks over into the thicket, into a bush. There a ram is caught in the thicket of the bush. His horns are caught into the thicket of the bush, and he goes over there. He takes the ram. He's rewarded with this beautiful ram that God has given to him. Notice this. But he returns the gift to God. Now, I mean, how valuable do you think that ram was? He could have looked to Abraham, his son, and said, man, whoa, this is fantastic. You know what? This is like a year's wage, man. This is so valuable. We can take this ram home with us, and we can use it, and we can grow our fold to much more than what we have. But Abraham names the place the Lord will provide, and he places that ram upon the altar, and he sacrifices it to God. You see, Abraham didn't want to hold any worship back from worshiping God. He wanted to give God his all. Now, the question we so many times need to ask ourselves, are we willing to give our all to God? You see, Abram's obedience to keep God first in his life, even to the point of putting his only son on the altar for God's reward, not only with a ram, God rewards him not only with a ram, but a nation is birthed through his faith in God. And today we see that nation, a huge, mighty nation, just because Abraham was willing to put God first. How important it is for us to understand how important it is to put God first in our worship. You see, worship is putting your trust in God, who is able to meet those impossible needs we face once we are willing to sacrifice all of self by putting self on the altar of God. Many of us need to be doing that. We need to come and put our lives upon that altar. I do it every day. Lord, I lay my life down before you. I know that I will not be able to get myself through this day on my abilities, but I know that through you and putting my faith and trust in you, that you will provide whatever is needed to get me through this day. You will provide. So, a question we need to ask ourselves this morning: what is standing between you and your need being met by God, who desires to provide for you a ram in a time of your need? What is standing between you and God? And so this we need to put down. You see, as we read in the story, you will note that Isaac was just as committed to his father Abraham was in worshiping God, willing to surrender his life. As a result of both father and son surrendering all to worshiping God, the sacrifice birthed a nation that birthed through two men trusting in God. You see, it wasn't just Abraham, but it was his son Isaac who too surrendered all to God. They both came together and they said, we're going to put our faith and trust in God. Father, if you've got to plunge that knife into my heart, I'm willing to put and lay my life down for you, because I too worship the God you worship. I'm following your direction. Again, remember I said this in the beginning of the talk, that Paul said, follow me for I follow Christ. Now again, Abraham said, come Isaac, follow me, because I'm following our God who's going to do incredible things for us. He will provide, as he names that place where he was about to sacrifice Isaac to the Lord. He was willing to surrender his all to God. So as a result of father and son surrendering the all, we see God coming through for them at the end of the day. For our faith to grow in trusting God for every need that stands before one like a mountain, we must be willing to surrender all to God. So hold on to your faith by worshiping God and God alone. So come, why not put your faith and your trust in God and watch him provide for you that which needs to be provided.